Hi, and thanks for tuning into this lesson. So, who is this lesson for? Well, it's for anyone who knows the 5 positions or fingering patterns of the minor pentatonic scale, but maybe struggles to use positions 2, 3, 4 and 5 when improvising, and therefore ends up using position 1 most of the time. So when many of us start to learn lead guitar, we start with the good old first position of the minor pentatonic. And we learn a nice selection of licks in that position. But because the notes of the minor pentatonic scale fall in different places and on different strings in the other 4 positions, there can sometimes be a tendency to shy away from using positions 2, 3, 4 and 5. So my approach to breaking out of the first position rut is to take a simple lick in position 1 and then see where we can play that same lick in positions 2, 3, 4 and 5. So for example, let's use this lick on the D and G strings in the first position of the minor pentatonic. Now let's try that same lick but an octave higher in the second position of the minor pentatonic scale on the B and E strings. And as you can see, the fingering pattern is identical to the one we used on the D and G strings in the first position. Now let's try the same lick in the third position of the minor pentatonic scale on the A and D strings. And this is in the same octave as we originally played it in the first position. And again, the fingering pattern is identical to the one we used on the D and G strings in the first position. And now let's try that same lick again in the fifth position of the minor pentatonic on the E and A strings. And this time it's an octave below the lick we originally played in the first position. And again, the fingering pattern is identical to the one we used on the D and G strings in the first position. So just to recap, any minor pentatonic lick played on either the E and A strings, A and D strings, D and G strings, or B and E strings will have exactly the same fingering pattern. So finding licks on those pairs of strings is a great way to get familiar with the different positions of the minor pentatonic scale, because they will always have the same fingering pattern. Now you've probably noticed that I skipped playing the lick in the fourth position, and that's because the G and B strings are tuned to a different interval than the other pairs of strings, and this means that to play the lick on the G and B strings we have to use a slightly different fingering. And in this case it means the C and D notes, which are played on the B string, have to be moved up 1 fret. So here's a neck diagram showing this lick in all 5 positions, and you'll see that positions 1, 2, 3 and 5, which are all highlighted with an orange box, all have the same fingering pattern, whereas position 4, which is highlighted with a purple box, has the C and D notes on the B string moved up 1 fret. And here's the lick played in all 5 positions consecutively. So in summary, all you really need to know to play this lick anywhere on the fretboard is where the A notes are. So if the A note is on the G string, you play this pattern. And if the A note is on any other string, you can play this pattern. And whenever you practice, if you spend a few minutes repeating this process of taking a simple 2-string lick in the first position and then finding the same lick in other positions, you should find that you'll become more confident in using the other positions when improvising. And once you're happy with a few of these 2-string licks using different pairs of strings, you can then move on to slightly longer licks across more strings. So let's take a look at a straightforward but slightly longer lick, And this one starts on C and descends through the minor pentatonic in the first position to end on A. Now the key to playing this lick across all 5 positions is really just to know where the C notes are, because if you know that, the rest of the lick just descends note by note through the minor pentatonic scale until you get to the root note of A. So in position 2, the lick will be this. And here's the lick in position 3. And here's position 4. And here's position 5. And here's all 5 positions played consecutively. So in summary, my approach to breaking out of the rut of just playing in the first position of the minor pentatonic scale is to take licks that you know in the first position and then find where you can play them in other positions. So start with simple licks like the one we first looked at, and then as you become more confident using positions 2, 3, 4 and 5, you can do the same thing with more complex licks. So I really hope you found this lesson useful, and if you have, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.